material, we tear the panels apart.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Source Material Comics podcast. Came real close to calling it the Unspoken Issues podcast, but I can't, because we're going to be talking about a couple books that came out in 2001 and 2006. And the only reason I got a little...
Thank goodness, because I forgot to pick panels.
Yeah, not a thing here on the Source Material Comics podcast. Doesn't mean you can't point them out, though. I'm here with the Unspoken Issues crew, and that is Chris Armstrong over there. How you doing, Chris?
Doing well.
All right, good deal. And Evan Bevins, are you ready to talk some Star Wars, buddy?
I'm ready to tag in.
He couldn't resist.
I was told to save it for the recording. Just following instructions, man.
So we're going to be talking about a couple books that I didn't know existed. I know that usually I know the Star Wars films. I may know a little bit about some of the TV shows, but the comics, there's a few that I've read and a lot that I haven't. And this is one of those ones that fall in the many that I haven't. But one person on here was like, let's cover this. And we're doing this in celebration or conjunction with the release of the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu movie, which I think that's
Star Wars returns to movie theaters.
Yes, it does. This is happening this week, right? This is like the 22nd? Is that one?
That is correct.
Yeah. So, Chris Armstrong, this was your suggestion. You got to tell the people why you wanted to talk about this.
Well, I'm always looking for excuses to talk about Star Wars, so I wrangled you into a Shadows of the Empire episode on Unspoken Issues earlier this month, and I figured, hey, since that was for May the 4th, the annual Star Wars Day, and I figured, hey, there's also a Mandalorian Star Wars movie coming out this month. Hey, let's go do a twofer.
That's right.
How did they not release it around May the 4th? That seems like a missed opportunity.
That I've thought that as well.
This is the way you should be doing it when there's natural marketing.
I think it's probably because traditionally Star Wars movies come out in the Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
First, I know that Empire came out May 25th, which is a day after I was born. I forget the actual release date of the other two, but they're all late May.
Well, see, that was a good tie-in.
True. True.
Yeah, I wanted to do Tag and Bink because I've always really liked these comics. I don't, as I said on the Shadows of the Empire episode we did, I don't read a ton of Star Wars comics just because I don't think, even though I love Star Wars, I don't normally think the books are as high quality as what the movies can bring or whatever. I just don't think the Star Wars works as well as a comic as it does as a
movie or a TV show or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
at least not without a 6-foot-tall green rabbit.
He'll show up eventually. So we're doing Tag and Bink, which was a 2-issue miniseries in 2001. Is that right?
Yeah, it came out in Mike's Amazing has it October of 2001, according to Mike's Amazing World.
And then it came back 5 years later, which we can talk about a little bit because it's kind of weird how the first two are based on A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and then the third one is set during Return of the Jedi, and the fourth one is set in the prequels. So I wonder if maybe Rubio just didn't get finished, he maybe had writer's block or something. So they did the first 2 issues, and he was supposed to do the third. And
that's what the crawl suggests.
Yeah, and then that's true. But he's also pretty self-deprecating in those. I don't know what the deal was with that. But anyway, I've got a little bit here about Kevin Rubio. I sent you guys a link to the fan film he made, Troops, which is like a cops parody.
Yeah, shoot, I did not get a chance to watch that. I wanted to, though, because he mentions it.
Way to go, Starcher.
I know.
I forgot to watch it again as well. So Kevin Rubio makes...
I watched it. I ditched my grandmother to watch it.
Well done. What a trooper.
Oh.
Hey, that's you provide the Star Wars insight. I provide the bad jokes.
So Rubio made this fan film Troops in 1997, and it's a parody of Cops, and it's the stormtroopers on Tatooine. They run into Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru having a domestic dispute. It's pretty funny. I remember it was a big deal in the early days of the internet, and I actually didn't see it until it was released on DVD. There was a movie magazine called Total Movie that I picked up the first 10 or so issues of when it was coming out. It was the DVD boom in the early 2000s. So each issue came with a DVD, and that fan film was on the DVD. So that's when I finally got a chance to see it.
Okay.
And so Lucasfilm approached him after the success of Troops to create a comedic Star Wars comic, which came out in 2001. And then it's somewhat based on Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which is it's a play, right? It's set during Hamlet or one of the Shakespeare plays.
Yes. Yeah, it's Hamlet.
Okay. Where these characters kind of interact with the main characters of that story. And that's kind of what goes on with Tag and Bink. So that's pretty much all I got on the quick synopsis of how it got started.
Okay. I just pulled up Rubio, just taking a look to see what his career looked like on Mike's Amazing World.
I don't think he's done many comics, but he's done a lot of writing for animation. He wrote on some of the Star Wars animated shows and some other stuff.
Yeah, they got him listed writing a couple stories in Star Wars Tales. Star Wars Tales number 4, a story called A Death Star is Born. Star Wars Tales number 7, Force Fiction. Then we have Tag and Bink Are Dead, which we're going to be talking about here first. And then Star Wars Tales number 12, The Revenge of Tag and Bink.
Did you guys happen to look that up?
No, I did not.
I didn't even know about that until I was looking up some stuff about the background. And then it's like an 8-page story, something like that. I read it, and it is sort of like a precursor to the 3rd issue where it's set during the Jabba's palace stuff. But it contradicts what happens in the 3rd issue. So I saw where Rubio doesn't consider it canon.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
And then I think he's got one other story listed here, and that was Star Wars Tales number 24, Fett Club. I guess that's a play on Fight Club. That came out in July.
I'll talk about that.
July of 2005, and then we have Star Wars Tag and Bink 2, and the 2 issues there. So let me tell you what I thought we were going to get, and then I'll go into the synopsis and we'll talk about some of the fun stuff. But I thought this was going to be Tag and Bink. It obviously sounds kind of silly. I didn't expect the premise of what we are going to get out of these issues. Instead, I was like, oh, this is just going to be some kind of Tag and Bink, these Ewoks or something. I don't know. It's going to be some kind of silly story that they're going to be involved in maybe. And I didn't expect it to be what we got. So, Evan, did these fly under your radar? I'm sure you're not picking these up or looking for these, or have you read these before?
I had heard of them, but I did not know exactly what we were in for. Certainly disappointed that there was no S after Bink.
Okay. That's a Jar Jar reference. And
I have no beef with Jar Jar.
Okay.
But yeah, I was not overly familiar with them, so I didn't quite know what I was getting into. I don't know if I should mention this now or later, but it reminded me of another of my favorite Star Wars offshoots. I don't know if either of you read back in the golden age of Star Wars novels, which is when I was reading them, I consider. They did a set of short story collections for each of the original trilogy movies. Tales from Mos Eisley, Tales from the Bounty Hunters, and Tales from Jabba's Palace. And the Mos Eisley one was the best, in my opinion, because it took every character that was in even like a half-second scene in the cantina sequence and with one exception, had a short story dealing with what they were doing before, during, or after that scene. One of them even ended on something of a dramatic cliffhanger and was dismissively ended in a different story by a different writer.
Oh, okay.
So it filled in all kinds of blanks. The Tales of the Bounty Hunter, I think, possibly contradicts some of what we see in Tag and Bink, but I had read somewhere right before I read that you can see like a discarded IG-88 prop in the bowels of Cloud City in Empire, and indeed you can, and it explains why that's there. It was really cool. I like when it's done well. I like going back and tying together threads behind the scenes in different stories. I don't know if you guys have ever read Ender's Game, but a few years later they did Ender's Shadow, which just basically told the story from a whole other perspective and added to rather than undermined the original story.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's kind of what we get here. This is a story of about two guys who are going to fill some holes or be a part of things that you had no idea were actually a part of when you watched the films. And it's incredibly enjoyable, in my opinion. All right, let me go ahead. I'll get into the release stuff here and the creative team. So our cover date, like I said, October of 2001 is what Mike's Amazing World has this listed as. Tag and Bink Are Dead, number 1 and number 2 is what we're going to be talking about first. Written by Kevin Rubio, penciled by Lucas Morangan, inked by Howard M. Shum, and then lettered by Steve Dutro, colored by Michelle Madsen. I've got a couple paragraphs here. You guys ready?
Ready.
I'm eager to hear about the artist because all I know is he doesn't have a Wikipedia page. That was the extent of my research on him, but I like the art. So
let me take a look here real quick because I have.
Well, he probably got his start a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
You're right.
He may not have much of an online presence.
When we look at Lucas, so this is Lucas Morangan, penciled. He's on the pencils. Dark Horse all the way, and R.I.P.D. 1 through 4. That was a comic that got turned into a movie. And
Future comic strip entry there.
Came out late 1999. And then after that, it looks like he is mostly doing stuff for Star Wars Tales. There are a few other things in there, like Dark Horse Presents number 153. He does a story on the mask, and then Ghost number 22. But most of it is Star Wars Tales 6, 7, 8, Tag and Bink. In 2002, he does an issue of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, the Orient Express, Star Wars General Grievous, and then his career, according to Mike's Amazing World, ends in 2008, where he does Star Wars Clone Wars number 3. But after that, there's a couple collections that I think they reprint some of his stuff in 22 and 23. So, but yeah, mostly Dark Horse artist, it looks like. So. And as for Howard Shum, let's take a look. I was going to say I don't recognize him as an inker, but he was, well, I'm sorry. Aquaman, it looks like he was on Aquaman quite a bit there in the mid-90s. The Tag and Bink stuff was more later in his career, like really late, and then 2003 was his last entry as an inker for Dark Horse Star Wars Tales number 16. But, yeah, and then the colorist. I want to talk about the colorist real quick. So the colorist, Michelle Madsen. Let's take a look here. Dark Horse, quite a bit, doing some Star Wars stuff. Looks like there's some Buffy the Vampire Slayer there. And then Challengers of the Unknown, number 1 through 6. It looks like Michelle was coloring. And bouncing back from Dark Horse in DC, doing City of Tomorrow for DC. 13th Sun for Dark Horse, which I've never heard of that comic. That's mid-2000s, it looks like. And we got some Agents of Atlas on there they're coloring. It looks like they've been coloring for quite a while. They're doing some Buffy the Vampire Slayer. They're doing some Batman, Gotham After Midnight. This is in the mid-2000s. But yeah, Buffy the Vampire Season 9, which I actually think I might have a few of those comics. I know I picked up some of the Angel stuff that happened after that season ended. But yeah, the last comic that they actually did, according to this, was back in 2024. So they've been pretty active. Yeah. Total of 335 story credits. So pretty active. So, all right. Well, let's get into the summary here. Star Wars, Tag and Bink Are Dead drops 2 hapless rebel soldiers into the events of A New Hope, where Tag and Bink bumble their way through the Imperial attack, barely surviving a firefight aboard a rebel ship before disguising themselves as stormtroopers to escape. Their plan works, and that's in quotes, just enough to get them embedded within the Empire, where they accidentally wander onto the Death Star and repeatedly stumble into danger while trying to lay low. After briefly attempting to flee in stolen TIE fighters, they unknowingly witness the destruction of Alderaan, get pulled back into the Death Star's orbit, and are ultimately forced into service during the trench run itself. Completely out of their depth, they scream and scramble through the battle as the Death Star is destroyed. And by the end of issue 1, they're drifting in space, apparently dead. So Tag and Bink, the title says it all, are dead at the end of issue 1. But then we get to issue 2, where we have the writer make sure that we are aware that he wrote himself into a corner and he needs to fix things. And so we get a recap of like the last couple pages of the first issue, and Tag and Bink decide that they're not going to go with Darth Vader and accompany him. Instead, 2 other pilots take their place, and they go and steal it's an Imperial shuttle, right?
Oh, yeah, the shuttle Tidarian.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, hang on. I'm going to double check this, but I believe from my old West End game Star Wars role-playing game that is a Lambda class freighter.
All right. Well,
and if I'm not mistaken, that is the one. Yeah, that is the one that Han and Leia and Luke used to get onto Endor.
Yeah. So they steal, and they manage to steal after.
It's a weird name for a planet where everything's mostly outdoors.
So they steal this Imperial shuttle, and they escape the Death Star just before its destruction, only to crash land and scavenge their way back into the action. Along the way, their usual mix of luck and incompetence puts them in the path of some major events, including a run-in with Boba Fett, where a lucky gag involving a piece of Chewie's metal saves Tag's life at the last second. Fleeing to Cloud City, they reconnect with Lando Calrissian, who reluctantly helps them despite their troublemaking history, while the pair inadvertently cross paths with key moments from Empire, even reinterpreting C-3PO's destruction as their own doing. Ultimately, they stumble into playing both sides just long enough to come out looking like heroes to the rebels, spinning a wildly exaggerated story of bravery. And even as Tag insists their luck has finally turned, the final reveal of Boba Fett tracking them in Slave One makes it clear their accidental misadventures and the trouble chasing them are far from over. So yeah, at the end of this, like the end of issue 2, they get the ship, the Imperial cruiser, over to Mon Mothma? Is that her name?
Yeah.
And it turns it over and says here, and then the last page.
Long before her days of fighting Godzilla.
That's Mothra, but
my bad. I always get those two mixed up.
So yeah, and you see the Slave One kind of orbiting outside of that, outside of where they're at. So anyway, there you go. Now there are some of the greatest fill-in bits in this comic book. I did not put them all in the synopsis because we gotta have a rundown. So the first person that's going to have the opportunity to talk will be Evan Bevins here. So Evan, I give you the floor here. I've summarized these 2 issues. What are your notes?
Well, first of all, they were a lot of fun. The other thing it reminded me of, I mentioned Tales from Mos Eisley Cantina, but the other thing this actually reminded me of, and I'm sure you guys thought the same thing, was Dick.
Okay, yeah, that's
the movie with Kristen.
Yeah, with Kirsten Dunst and Michelle Williams. Yeah, what else?
Sure.
Exactly. Yeah, the retelling of the Watergate story with a couple of bumbling interns who ended up as Nixon's dog walkers.
Okay.
I remember many years ago, I wrote a review of it that was like, okay, no one thinks this is what actually happened. The idea is things were so weird that this is as plausible an explanation as anything. And so that's what I kind of feel like. There was a brief moment where the nerd in me was like, there's no way this is canon. And then it's like, no, just enjoy it.
I'll just say, if there's any contradictions, I'm a Tag and Bink absolutist.
That's similar to the calculation I had to make when I got to Unbeatable Squirrel Girl number 4. I was like, this is Marvel continuity? And then I said, well, if Marvel contradicts Squirrel Girl, I go with Squirrel Girl.
There you go.
So I can respect that. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I admit to a little, I'm like, wait, Alderaan comedy? Really? I've made Alderaan jokes. We all have. I don't have a good one now to prove it. There were great lines like when they're dressed as stormtroopers, one of them says, I couldn't recognize my own sister in this outfit. I loved the reveal of Chewie's. The whole thing with Chewie's medal, like every once in a while I'll see something on social media and I'll be like, okay guys, we get it. Chewie didn't get a medal. But This was good.
Plus,
I have never been known to run a joke into the ground, but it can happen.
Sure.
This was not a case of that. This was a great use of that. The idea that they blew up C-3PO, the autographed Mace Windu poster.
That was nice.
In Lando's quarters. The only complaint I had is, and maybe it's because the Rubio didn't work often in comics, the pacing felt a little off. Sometimes it was just like, okay, well, we got all the things we wanted to happen and now we're out of pages. But when you're cramming in that many high quality gags and laughs and stuff, I'll be like, well, I was laughing the whole time, but the pacing was a little, no, I'm not going to really dock any points for that. So yeah, at first it took me a little, just because I wasn't quite sure. All I knew was Star Wars and comedy. So it took me a little bit to get into it, but once I was having fun with it, and anything that didn't quite fit for me, I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah. Were you going to say something there, Chris, about Chewie's metal?
Yeah, I was going to just mention that I'm sick of the Chewie's metal jokes as well. But this was 25 years ago. So it was more novel in the early days of the internet. That was a fun inside Star Wars joke at the time.
I just meant that regardless, even if it had just come out now, I think they did it well. I was not poo-pooing their inclusion of it. I was just saying it takes a little more to get me to laugh at a Chewie's metal. And this did the job well because, this was my first time reading it. And I was just like, oh, haha. Like, that sounded sarcastic. That was a genuine haha. A genuine LOL, yeah. So, I was not besmirching their use of it at all.
I'm sitting over here again. You guys probably know a little bit more about that. I know I'm a novice when it comes to like some of the Star Wars lore. And when we get to the Chewie's metal thing, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, I don't get it. And then all of a sudden it hits me. I'm like, no, wait a second. I know I've seen something about this. And I was like, oh, that's right. He didn't get a medal. And I immediately went and Googled it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a big thing. So immediately I thought it was hilarious that so I assumed somebody forgot to give it to him. Or he just got it and he didn't want to put it on. I don't know. But it's there. And that's where I started to realize, oh, they're going to be plugging in things that people either have issues with or they can be part of. And that's not the only thing that the C-3PO thing that comes up. I always wondered, like, who are these guys that are shooting why are they doing this? And I think I ended up getting it. I feel like did that get ever explained at all as to who shot him?
No, never even revealed that it was. Well, yeah, I guess he does when he wakes back up. He mentions stormtroopers, but yeah, there's no references to who it was.
Okay, all right. So again, you got this nice open spot, and then I was like, oh, this is going to be fun because these bumbling idiots are going to be popping up in the spots in the actual films and give us reason as to why, at least explaining some things that may have needed some explaining. And I liked that. I thought that was great. So, Evan, did you have anything else there before I turn it over to Chris?
No, I hit my highlights.
All right, Chris, what do you got there? I knew that coming into this, I was like, if there's something that I missed, he's going to be the one that'll probably point it out.
I feel like Rubio had some source books handy. Bink is quick, like a few times, especially the first time I think in the opening sequence, he's quick to rattle off some Star Destroyer specs and reminded me kind of Justin Long in Galaxy Quest a little bit.
Great movie.
Yeah. The foreshadowing of I'm going to kill that droid. Whichever one does it, and then we see that later. I remember being a little, like, I love all the art, like background touches and stuff for the most part. It's kind of like Top 10.
Okay.
Top 10 is way more dense with this stuff, where you have to kind of study the background and see all the sort of Easter egg type stuff. This has some of that stuff. I was a little annoyed that there was a big boy first time I read this, but now I think it's funny. There's like a big boy in the Death Star.
Oh, wow.
The cafeteria, basically, probably.
You think those guys worked for the Empire, or were they more like independent contractors?
Oh, no. Well, we'll ask Randall. Again, the Tidarium is the shuttle that ends up on Return of the Jedi. When they get to the abandoned base, is that a monolith on the ground there?
Oh.
I've never seen 2001, but I know monoliths are in that, right? They're big black things.
Yeah, the big, yeah. which it wouldn't surprise me because they are doing.
I assume that's what that's supposed to be. You mentioned Chewie's medal, this was also years before the most egregious fan service moment in maybe Star Wars history when they give him a medal in Rise of Skywalker. Haven't heard the term Mac Daddy in a while, but we get that a couple of times.
Yep.
In reference to Lando. Also, the Battle of Tanab, which he references in Return of the Jedi, and we see a little bit in this is that
it didn't happen. Not for Lando.
Yeah. I think that's all I've got for the first. Scanning through to see if I'm missing anything. I think it's all I've got for the first two, really, that we haven't covered yet. I do have a list of all of Tag and Bink's on-screen appearances in the movies.
Oh, really?
At least all the ones I could discern from this. But I'll let you do your notes then, and I'll mention the ones from the first two.
Okay, all right. I do want to talk about the art style real quick. I think it fits the book. It's kind of cartoony. It's got a little bit of exaggeration. Absurd comedy is going to feel just at home with our artist here. Great job here. Okay, so let's see here. We talked about C-3PO. The disguise shtick is going to go quite a long way. They're going to be in stormtrooper armor. They're going to be in other armor. And it's going to give them the opportunity to use that so that they can fit into the films, which is fantastic. I'm okay with that. When they decide to escape to Alderaan, I'm like, oh, wait a second, there it is. And then all of a sudden it explodes after they get outside. I thought that was hilarious. And then when the Millennium Falcon shows up and they're like, jam the communications, and Bink's trying to tell Tag, don't go back to the Death Star, and all he picks up is go back to the Death Star. He goes back to the Death Star. They're back on the Death Star. There's that moment where they're the two stormtroopers where Obi-Wan is turning down the tractor beam, I think, or doing something like that. And I thought that was hilarious. I recognize that because it's not played off for big effect unless you watch and you could just barely see Obi-Wan stick his head out and then he takes off running. And I was like, oh, wait a second. I know that scene. The trench run setup is hilarious. And at the end of this, I was like, how are they going to get rescued? Because I thought somebody's going to come by and rescue them or something. And I was not expecting Rubio to just be like, well, you know what? I'm just going to redo the rest of his last...
It's in the title.
It is in the title. But what's funny is, like, the next issue, Bink and Tag live. And I was like, oh, okay, all right.
That's the worst case of titular malpractice since the never-ending story.
Okay, so let's see, what else do I have here? They escape via Imperial shuttle, Death Star destruction, which is clarified. The journey to Yavin, we talked about the large party, Chewie's medal, the run-in with Boba Fett, arrival at Cloud City. Yes, this Battle of Tanab thing, I have no idea what's going on here. I didn't know this until I decided I need to go and look this up to see if this is a thing. And sure enough, that's a big thing, apparently, that gets mentioned I just completely forgot about. And yes, Lando was...
It's really just a throwaway line in Return of the Jedi.
Oh,
I had forgotten about it.
And it turns out he's not there. He wasn't there in the first place. He was dating some other chick, and his... Three chicks. Three chicks.
He's a Mac Daddy.
He is a Mac Daddy. Yeah. The Frozen and Carbonite scene where the Stormtrooper gets knocked into the thing, and it actually turns out to be probably Tag, because Tag is usually the one that's getting hit or falling down or something. I'm pretty sure it was Tag. And then them bringing the shuttle back, which was great payoff for them to be like, oh yeah, hey, we're the ones that bring the shuttle. Not the only time these guys will help out the rebellion quite a bit. So I think we're going to get in some bigger jokes as we talk about the next two issues. But I think that's all I've got. These guys can't help themselves from failing upward. Like, that's just the way it seems. Like, they cannot... every time they screw something up, they end up being pretty successful. So, all right, I'll stop here. What's your... Do you want to do the list now? You got a list?
One other thing I didn't mention. Again, I also want to second that I think the art is great and perfect for the tone of this comic. And we really need an animated version of this on Disney Plus. Oh, yeah. I think this is a really funny book. And even though I've read it a couple times, it's been a while. So when I was reading it through again this weekend, several laugh out loud moments for me, which is rare when I'm reading, even if I'm reading something funny. And maybe the biggest one, it was when they were in the TIE fighter suits. And They were like, I forget the exact line, but it's something like, let's just keep a low profile and get out of here. And then Vader pops up and says, you two, come with me. But yeah, the Tag and Bink on screen in Star Wars films. This isn't a comprehensive list. This is just what I came up with as I was reading it. The TIE fighter that Han and crew see in the Alderaan debris that they jammed the switch.
Mm-hmm.
The two stormtroopers Ben distracts while he's taking down the tractor beam. And they have the same dialogue in the book as they do in the movie.
Yes.
The two pilots that Vader recruits to defend the trench. And the last one I have of these two is the stormtrooper Chewie knocks around in the carbon chamber. So you kind of mentioned most of those, but those are the ones that. And there's also like maybe they're supposed to be in the background of some of the other, but like as far as like we know, they're the people we're seeing in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones I had.
And then there's one. Sorry, there was one I almost thought was part of that, but I think it was just a reference, not supposed to be the actual one. But where they decide to leave and one of them bumps his head on the sliding door.
Right.
Yeah, that wasn't the exact scene, but apparently that was just a general problem when you have doors like that and helmets with
You can't see. Yeah.
I kind of wonder if he wanted to do like maybe if he had the idea to make them those stormtroopers, but he just didn't have time to write a full page or so. So he's like, well, I'm going to do the head bonk anyway.
Yeah.
Could be, yeah.
So do me a favor, and I don't know if you guys have it in front of you, but can you change over? Can you turn to the page where they came into Yavin, and it's the after party is all like, there's just whatever's left, the aftermath of the party, I should say. You mentioned the bunny, Jackson, right? Is that the name? Is that the name of the bunny? For a split second, I was like, is that a Jackson suit down there on the bottom? But I noticed it has a horn and it's blue. I know Jackson is green. Is there anything else I'm missing here? I don't understand the furry suits and the masks. Is it just like, hey, they were having a party, look at this is funny? Or is there something to do with those suits that tie into Star Wars?
There's a party hat with the number 42 on it. Isn't that a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference? If I'm not mistaken?
That's not going to be the only one we see.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know there are several of those in here because I've seen the movie once, but I've never read any of that stuff, so I don't know much about it.
I haven't either.
That's the answer to everything in life itself or something is 42.
All right.
So, and then I don't understand the Bink is holding up like a purple walrus mask or something. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, when I saw that blue suit took me to Jackson territory. I was like, oh, wait a second. Maybe they're making a comment there. But the horn throws it all off, and again, it's blue, so, yeah.
I suspect those are some sort of reference to some kind of absurdist sci-fi thing.
Right. All right, well, there you go. That's all I have. You guys have anything else before we get into the second set of books, which is going to be Tag and Bink 2?
I'm good.
No, I'm good.
All right. So Tag and Bink 2 issues, came out, and looks like first issue came out March of 2006. So it's important, we should probably kind of mention this before we get into this, but in October of 2001, we are in between episode 1 and episode 2 at that time. Had 2 come out? 2 had not come out yet, had it?
No.
Okay.
Correct.
It was 2002.
Okay. All right. So, and it's even mentioned, I think, in the crawl of the first issue about how we're kind of anticipating.
No time for Dark Horse Comics.
We're anticipating that second film. And of course, the special editions were out by this time, if I remember correctly. And then, of course, episode 1 was out as well. So we then fast forward 5 years later into March of 2006. And I think we're about 1 year after episode 3 has released, right? Like episode 3 came out in 2005?
Yep.
Okay. So now we have, like, when I was reading this, I was like, oh, we have all sorts of new fodder now. Like, he can, if he's going to make it poke fun or at least have a good bit of time with episodes, let's try it again, 4, 5, and 6, then he can have a ball with some of the stuff that everybody was complaining about. And I feel like, honestly, in 99, I'm sure that people can make a case, and it's been around for way longer than this, but about 99, when the prequels come out, especially Phantom Menace, that's about when I start to realize how ruthless fandom can be. Like, people are tearing apart The internet's been around for just a tiny little bit, but at that time in 99, I had a web TV, so it's not like I did not have a computer, but I could hook up a little device that I bought from Sears and get online and read things through my TV. So at about this time, I'm starting to realize how vicious fandom can be about, especially the Star Wars films. I know I've told you guys this before. Going and watching it, I was expecting some great space night adventures, but instead I got politics and how are we going to get Emperor Palpatine into power, and a lot of disappointment is probably the best way for me to put it.
A lot of bitching.
Right.
Bitching and complaining.
So I'm expecting now, getting into Tag and Bink 2, I'm like, okay, he's got his opportunity to maybe poke a little bit more fun, but we got to get through Jedi first. We did New Hope, we did Empire, now we got to get through Jedi, and that's kind of where we land. But we do have a little bit of change here. Rubio and Morangan are still on writing and art, lettered by Michael David Thomas and colored by Daniel Jackson. So we're going to get a bit of a change up here. So if you guys are ready, I'm going to hop into the summary. Did you guys have anything to say before I get into that?
I'm ready.
All right.
Let's do it.
In Star Wars, The Return of Tag and Bink Special Edition, issue number 1 of Tag and Bink 2, the story drops Tag Greenlee and Bink Otana into the events surrounding Return of the Jedi, beginning in Mos Eisley, where Lando Calrissian is trying to connect with a rebel contact as part of the plan to rescue Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt. Actually, I think what he's actually doing is trying to find this contact that he's getting a hold of is somebody that has the plans as well.
Trying to get laid, too.
That's true. Tag and Bink, of course, bungle their way into the operation, impersonating Imperials, cross paths with Boba Fett to eventually wind up stealing and /using Fett's armor as they stumble into Jabba's palace and the Sarlacc pit chaos that happens in Return of the Jedi. During the skiff battle, Bink accidentally shoots Luke's hand while trying to knock away his lightsaber, adding to the destruction of Jabba's sail barge, after which Tag and Bink are rescued /captured by one of the greatest names in this whole book, Canon. The woman from the Mos Eisley bar that they had run into. From there, they meet second greatest name, Manny Bothhands.
Oh, yeah.
I'm ashamed to admit that I did not catch that.
It took 2 reads for me too, dude. I was like, oh my gosh. Now I get it. So Manny Bothhands, who reveals crucial intelligence about the second Death Star near Endor before dying in the escape, leaving Tag and Bink to deliver the information. This leads them to infiltrate the second Death Star, disguised as... are these Imperial Royal Guards, these red guys? Is that who they are? Or
Crimson Guards.
Crimson Guards. Okay, I always get...
that may just be the name of that series. I don't know.
I feel like the Crimson Guard was also a G.I. Joe thing, right? Okay, I'll figure that out later. Okay.
Yes, it was.
I forget. We got Star Wars guy on here, not G.I. Joe guy. All right, then. So, yes, Crimson Guard. Where they end up standing just outside the Emperor's throne room during Luke, Vader, and Palpatine's final confrontation. They almost intervene, but decide, it's a family squabble, only to be caught in the Death Star's destruction. The final Endor celebration reveals the punchline. Tag and Bink did not survive. They appear as Force ghosts alongside Obi-Wan, Yoda, Anakin, and Anakin, having somehow stumbled their way into the last sacred Star Wars moment. Then we get to issue 2 of Tag and Bink, the 2 hapless Force-sensitive friends. We find out that these guys were Force-sensitive younglings, continue their accidental journey through key Star Wars events, revealing that they were present at and often responsible for major events in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. After bungling their Jedi training and getting into trouble, including accidentally erasing crucial files from the Jedi archives, contributing to Obi-Wan's Camino mystery, they find themselves caught up in Anakin and Padme's developing romance, even going so far as to feed Anakin better dialogue and advice that helps spark their relationship. Their meddling inadvertently reinforces Anakin's emotional attachment, setting the stage for his eventual fall. As the Clone Wars erupt and chaos spreads, Tag and Bink struggle to survive, ultimately crossing paths was Anakin during his transformation into Darth Vader, spared only because they once helped him with Padme. They are exiled under the threat of death and decide to flee somewhere safe, ironically choosing Tatooine once again, placing themselves directly in the path of galactic destiny. This is issues 1 and 2. And Chris Armstrong, I'll give you the opportunity here first to get your notes out of the way. I'll start crossing mine off as you go through them.
So this new character that appears here, Kanan Dune, either way, I'm not sure, but
It's got to be canon. At first I was like Kanan, but I feel like Rubio is like, no, this has got to be canon, and in order to make some kind of a sly little jab at things. But anyway, go ahead.
Now, there are jokes in the first one that pay off in the second when you see her again with Django.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Where she thinks Boba Fett is Django Fett.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot.
From the previous issue. So
It reminded me of Aquaman's dad.
But
I was not familiar with this character, but I figured since she showed up twice that there was a reason she was here. And apparently this is, from what I could tell, Rubio used this character or created this character in one of his Star Wars Tales books or stories and decided to use her again here.
Oh, okay.
And she's basically a normal human from what I could tell and a bounty hunter, but she ages slowly. So she's basically looks the same in both of these, both this one and the prequel issue.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I was curious about her just because I other than this, I didn't know anything about her. But I did take note that she has Lando dead to rights. She's got her blaster pointed at him under the table when they're talking. When they get to the sail barge sequence, and I'm not sure if it's Tag or Bink that's in the Boba Fett.
It's Tag.
Outfit. Okay, but either way. I can't tell which one's talking here because it's just word balloons, but. They mentioned what type of lightsaber style is that? He's just waving it around like a
yeah,
wampa. And it does. If you watch that scene in Jedi, he is kind of using it like a baseball bat. I did pick panels just because I thought this was
unspoken
I wasn't
issues.
thinking about this being source material. Yeah, but I'm only going to mention this one. My favorite panel, probably from the whole series, is when an enraged Skywalker is swinging that lightsaber around and Tag is behind him saying, "Calm down, Skywalker."
That's good.
It's great. And all the stuff with Tag as Boba Fett is pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
And Manny, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I got to step in here and say, like, this helps Star Wars a lot. Because this whole moment in Return of the Jedi for Boba Fett, people were like, oh my gosh, this guy was so cool. And then that happens where he goes, and he goes into the, well, it's not him. It's Tags. And it helps the story. So I was like, that's great. But anyway, go ahead.
It does undercut one of my favorite Wizard top 10s, though, which was the top 10 things we wanted to see but didn't in the re-released Star Wars movies, and one of them was Boba Fett actually doing something.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that.
Nice.
Manny Bothans is the best joke in Star Wars history.
Absolutely.
No, I don't think there's any debate. Let me switch over to the next. One more thing about in the Jedi issue. Another of my biggest laughs was when it is, by the way, Imperial Guard or Emperor's Royal Guard is the name of the guys in the
Crimson stuff. Yeah,
the red. It was Crimson Empire is the name of the miniseries that they.
That's right.
But when they're dressed in those outfits, and he says, "Leave us," and then they walk around, which I can picture that from the movie. In my head, and then they walk around and there's no elevator on the other side. Yeah. And they're just stuck back there for the whole ordeal.
They watch the Emperor go over like they're watching him fall. It's hilarious.
So in the prequel issue, always love a Jay and Bob cameo. They're in there a couple times. My one continuity gripe with the whole book, Order 66 really shouldn't affect Django because he's not a clone.
I was thinking that too.
He's the original, but it's a really funny scene, so I'm going to let it slide.
So I didn't catch this. Is he named in here?
No,
he's
you
wearing
could
the
argue
armor.
that's a clone, but he's got the Django armor.
Okay, all right. I was trying to figure out, like, I thought it was just a clone.
Now, if Rubio did another issue, like a short story in Star Wars Tales, where a clone steals Jango Fett's armor and goes on a date with him.
That's perfect. And I think that's even mentioned. Like, there's a clone joke, I think, in this, if I remember correctly. Like, I feel like there's something that's made. So,
although I took it as a Mandalorian joke at first.
Oh, okay.
Where Boba Fett says this woman's after him because she swears he stood her up, and he said the price you pay for looking exactly like a million other guys in the galaxy.
Yeah. Yep. All right. What else you got there?
Let me see. I'm just kind of scanning through to make sure I'm not missing anything else. I do love all of the Roxanne stuff where he's feeding Anakin lines.
Yes.
I don't know what the name of the play that Roxanne is based on. The Steve
Oh, I used to know it.
Cyrano.
Yeah, Cyrano.
There you go.
Yep.
But that's all good stuff. And then them going back to the temple and Anakin remembering them and kind of showing mercy because he helped him out. There's also a great line. I may be stealing one from Evan, but I'm only mentioning it because he mentioned some of her outfits when we talked about Star Wars on another episode.
Oh, yeah.
Please, did you see the dress she's wearing? This girl's playing with a loaded Savak deck. That's all I got, and then I've got some more on screen.
Yeah, it was just the fact that her outfit in one scene in Attack of the Clones destroyed the whole movie for me.
All right, Evan, I'll go ahead and give you the floor here, man. What do you got?
Let's see. Well, I mentioned the price you pay for looking like a million other guys line. I also got a kick out of Tag and Bink discussing going to grab a drink at Mos Def.
Yeah. Which, again, is another Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference because Mos Def was in that movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Right.
Let's see. I noticed probably the most unexpected cameo was at the Ewok celebration, Yogi Bear and Boo Boo.
Yes.
Joining in.
You have to stop and look at the panels because I read comics too fast and I don't enjoy the art or examine the art of the panels. And these are the type of books where you need to stop and look. Take it all in because, yeah, they're at the celebration of Endor, and I didn't catch it until I was going through it a second time. I was like, wait a second. Is that Yogi? That's Yogi Bear and Boo Boo.
Hey, it's not all about picnic baskets. Sometimes you just got to celebrate the love.
Yup, nub.
Yep. And then in issue 2, that was just the out of left field cameo. Jay and Silent Bob were a welcome addition, but I'm like, well, of course Jay and Silent Bob are here. And then Tom Servo from Mystery Science Theater, who is also in the Troops film. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Buzz Lightyear is in. Of course, I was just excited to see probably the same episode where we talked about Padme's wardrobe, Chris, was where you, me, and Al listed our favorite characters from each trilogy, and Dexter Jetster remains my favorite prequel character.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Like, I have seen another comic where I'm not the only one that's like, this guy is interesting. So I was happy to see him show up. And then there was a Darth Vader Mr. Potato Head, which was
I got one of those somewhere.
Yeah, totally. That was an anachronism, but it was a funny one. I did laugh at Tag and Bink becoming Force ghosts. I didn't even think about, were they Force sensitive or whatever, because someone I work with is much more well-versed in Star Wars lore than me, and you guys have probably never noticed it, but sometimes I just bring up old jokes just to annoy people. And whenever I want to get a reaction, I just casually work into conversation that Han Solo appeared in Rise of Skywalker as a Force ghost. Automatic, which always gets this person to stop what they're doing and correct me.
Yes, he should.
That immediately made me think, I'm like, yeah, they'll just let anybody in there. But it was, again, kind of what I said about the first one. Just, I kept laughing. I feel so silly. I was like, what's the significance of Manny both hands? I don't know. But as I've mentioned on here before, I am the guy who came out of Starship Troopers going, those people were just a bunch of Nazis. Sometimes, I won't even say subtlety is lost on me. Sometimes obviousness is lost on me. But yeah, I had fun with it. I laughed at it. There were times where I was like, okay, some of this kind of feels forced, or not the jokes, but the pacing. But again, as I said with the first two, am I going to complain about this or am I going to laugh? And I chose laugh.
All right, well, yeah, let me go down through my notes here. Issue 1, Tag, Bink, and Lando going through just about half the alphabet each time they have to change plans because they'll sit there and come up with a plan. And they're like, okay, plan B. And then something will happen again and it ruins the plan because of something. And then, okay, what plan C? That was pretty funny. Yeah, I talked about Boba Fett remaining now. Now he's actually still cool because Tag is the one that goes over into the Sarlacc pit. I'm all right with that. We do have another Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference where Arthur Dent is present during the strangling of Jabba the Hutt, sitting there reading a book that says "Don't Panic" on it.
I did not recognize that.
Yeah, he's got his bathrobe. I was looking for his handy towel. He did not have it. The two Anakins, didn't see that at first. Like both Anakins sitting there as Force Ghosts. So we had the Hayden Christensen and who was the guy who played him in the original Star Wars. I can't remember his name, but he was there too. Both looking at each other kind of like, what are you doing here? And then, oh yeah, the Battlestar Galactica droids, like what do they call them? The Cylons?
Yeah.
The Cylons being part of like the Empire. And then we get to issue 2 where it's like just all sorts of hilarity with the prequels. We start out, I think it's where we start out, like the Emperor, well, it's Chancellor Palpatine and Anakin are sitting there watching Finding Nemo. It looks like an aquarium, but it's actually like Finding Nemo. And then, yeah, we find out Darth Plagueis is responsible for Krypton exploding.
Oh, yeah.
So
maybe not as wise as he thought.
Okay, let's see. What else do I have? Oh, dude, the playroom scene at the Youngling Temple, or the temple, where Yoda is like trying. It's obviously some type of a teacher, but all these kids are like going crazy. But there's these 2 kids that are playing with Star Wars figures laying on the ground, and I've got to find the dialogue here real quick because it's freaking hilarious, and I think it fully encapsulates like the feeling that a lot of people had coming out of the first one. Oh, please read it to me.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'll do the first, and then Evan, you can respond.
Okay.
I'll be the banking clan and set up a new form of currency and totally ruin your economic structure through tariffs and embargoes.
Oh, come on. You always get to be the banking clan.
Yep.
Oh, well, and then there's another pair down at the bottom left.
What do they say?
See here, Chancellor Valorum. You're a bad ruler. I'm going to kick you out.
No, please, Palpatine, give me one more chance.
Oh, man. So yes, I like that part of it. That was hilarious. All right, they're Tag and Bink, terrible Jedi students. They erase the whole planet, which sets up Obi-Wan trying to find the planet, and then Yoda being like, oh, you lost the planet, huh? Well, the diner scene, as soon as I saw Order 63, I was like, oh, it's not where this is going. Where this is coming. I did not realize that the diner guy, until I did a little bit of research, was like someone from Attack of the Clones. I had forgot all about that. So
I have a Dexter Jetster action figure.
Are you serious? Does he have like, do you have a little bell or something that he rings or something?
He's got like a cleaver.
Nice. Very nice. Okay, Anakin trying to flirt with Padme, and these guys like, let us help you. And then afterwards, they're making fun of Anakin, like, how I hate sand. Like, how did you come up with that? And then there's a moment where one of them says, no one talks like that. And then they give him some pointers, and then they turn around and act like you don't care. And then she comes up immediately and kisses him. And Bink's like, I can't believe that worked. Oh, yeah, Tag complaining about the grunting and yelling all night between Anakin and Padme before they left. And they leave him there. Like, they don't leave him any money to leave. Oh, shoot, what planet were they? Naboo? They were on Naboo, and they just left a note and said, okay, sorry. And then 3 years later, they get mad. And when they go back to the temple and everybody's getting killed, Anakin shows up, and the first thing out of one of their mouths is like, you jerk. You left us there. And then another one's like, what is up with your eyes? Because he's got the dark circles under his eyes.
I like that they immediately went to possibly the only moment in the Star Wars theme films darker than Alderaan.
Yeah, and they were part of it, which is hilarious. So Anakin does not kill them, cuts off their ponytails, and says, all right, if I see you again, I'm going to kill you. Hilarious. I did not expect this book to be that funny, and I think it was done well. I think all these books were done well enough to where I wanted more. Like, I definitely think, what is going on with Rubio right now? Because there's 3 more movies, dude. Actually, way more than that. More than that.
And it's not, he's poking fun at all this stuff. He's not pulling any punches. But, like, you can tell this is not a guy who hates Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah, he's like, hey, there's some good. You take the good, you take the bad. Yeah, he's having fun with it, but this does not come from a place of hatred.
No, it does not. No, it does not. Chris, you got a list there, right?
So the other on-screen appearances of Tag and Binks in Return of the Jedi, Boba Fett flirting with the alien girl, that's in the special edition only. But also anytime Boba Fett or Dren Garen, that's the guy who gets his hand shot, or who shoots Luke's hand.
Oh, okay.
Anytime those two characters, Boba or that guy, anytime they're on screen in Return of the Jedi, that's Tag and Bink. Anytime the Royal Guards are on screen in Return of the Jedi, that's Tag and Bink.
That's correct.
The younglings, they are 2 of the younglings when Obi-Wan asked Yoda for help in Attack of the Clones.
Is Warpak one of the ones that shows up? Is he in the films?
I did not look him up. I don't know of him being anywhere else.
I didn't recognize the name or anything like that, but I can see him just being like some weird side character, and Rubio's like, oh, I'm using this kid. He's the tattletale that tries to get him in trouble or whatever. I'm looking just to see if he actually has anything. And there is something in Wikipedia here. Zet Jukasa, born Warpak Skamini, was a male human Padawan serving the Jedi Order and the Galactic Republic. In the final days, apprenticed to Jedi Master Mirame Unil at the start of the Clone Wars. He was reassigned to Temple Battlemaster Sin Drailing. Following Unil's death, Jukasa was stationed at Coruscant Jedi Temple with Drailing when the ancient edifice was invaded by the Grand Army of the Republic. And there is a picture of this dude, and he does look like the guy that we see in the comic.
We all, I went through the on-screen appearances. We almost got them in Solo, a Star Wars story.
Oh, really?
I remember when they were filming that, and there were production troubles, and I forget who else. I think it was Lord and Miller, right, that were going to do it initially?
Yeah.
Who just did Project Hail Mary and they did some Spider-Verse. But anyway, they got fired. Wise move, Disney. And Ron Howard came in to finish it. And I remember Howard, like, on Instagram, put out a picture of him with 2 guys dressed as Imperial officers and hashtagged it Tag and Bink.
Oh, dude.
And I was like, oh, yes. So they appeared in the movie, but the scene was deleted. But the scene was included. I'm reading this from Wikipedia. The scene was included in Chapter 6 of the film's novelization, Solo, a Star Wars Story Expanded Edition. I'll read this paragraph. Why don't you, this is in quotes at the beginning, why don't you tell us what allegedly happened here, he continued, indicating a screen that had lit up. It was flanked by 2 Imperial guards, Lieutenants Tag Greenlee and Bink Otana. Han had attempted to befriend them, but they turned out to be such colossal screw-ups. Han started to avoid them before they got him or themselves killed. Still, he needed all the friends he could get. He gave them a little wave and a grin. They looked back at him wryly and said nothing.
Oh, wow.
So that would have been them, I guess, on the movie. There are some other things here on Wikipedia. In a Reddit AMA in January of 2018, Rubio revealed that a new Tag and Bink trilogy was in development, which will be set during the sequel trilogy, titled Tag and Bink Awaken, Tag and Bink Got Milk, and The Second and Third Last Jedi, which is one of the backstory of Snoke. That was 8 years ago, so I guess those are not happening, or at least happening anytime soon.
Yeah, it is a shame.
And then in a Reddit AMA, I guess a few months earlier, Kevin Rubio supported the fan theory stating that the 2 stormtroopers who back up to avoid the wrath of Kylo Ren following his discovering Rey had escaped in The Force Awakens are an elderly Tag and Bink. Oh.
So they joined the Empire, or just accidentally? They're again.
I'm sure they just accidentally.
It would not on purpose. Also, you guys remember the Mandalorian episode where the 2 scout troopers pick up Grogu, and they've got him while they're waiting to hear word of when they can return back to
yes, I do. I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember the bad guys' name. Anyway,
yeah, they're the bad guys. They put him in like they're beating on him. Yeah. I remember that. Right.
And they're voiced by Adam Pally and Ted Lasso. I can't think of his name.
Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah.
Sudeikis. A really funny scene, and I always, in my headcanon, that's tagging me. So, yeah, I think that's all I got. Just kind of lastly for me anyway, this is a really fun comic, and I'm glad I got a chance to read it again, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
I did.
It needs to be more of a spotlight for it's one of the best Star Wars comics out there for me. So.
With that being said, let's go ahead and we will rock it on out of here. Evan Bevins, I'll let you go first here, man. Tell everybody out there where they can find you.
Right now, mostly piggybacking on other people's podcasts. You can read a lot of what I've written at asterisk51.blogspot.com. I'm on a little hiatus, recalibrating, figuring out how to get into a better rhythm and find some cool stuff going forward. But you can read a lot of stuff on there. And then whenever you guys invite me on, after I try 14 times to duck it, and you say, no, we can do it this day, then I join in, and I'm always glad I did. You and me talk about Marvel Snap once a month.
That's right.
Snap material. The aforementioned Mr. Radulich has me on occasionally for a comic strip where we talk about a non-Marvel, non-DC comic, but it's comics that are adapted into movies with varying degrees of success. The most recent one was Whiteout, which is a good comic that was turned into a movie that exists. Also, once a month, you can find me over on Magazines and Monsters, talking with Billy D, aka Doc Strange, and Ed Moore about Marvel Fanfare, which was kind of a prestige series Marvel put out in the 80s with a lot of different characters, from the X-Men to Doctor Strange to Eligila.
My goodness, Eligila.
That's right. Eligila.
All right, then. All right. Yeah, definitely check that out, ladies and gentlemen. And then Chris Armstrong, you got a couple things that you do as well. Please share it with the people.
Yeah, I used to have a couple podcasts. No, I've got a couple of movie podcasts I do with my buddy AJ. Haven't had a lot of time to work on those lately, but you can still find the archives of those out there under Small Screeners, where we talk about direct-to-video and made-for-TV movies. We've also got one called Because Movies, where we talk about kind of whatever tickles our fancy movie-wise. You can find those on your podcatcher of choice.
Ladies and gentlemen, go check out the Source Material Comics podcast. We've got all sorts of stuff in the archives. You can punch that into YouTube, punch it into any podcatcher out there. You should be able to find something that you'd be interested in. And then the Unspoken Issues podcast, where me and these guys usually get together. We talk 90s comics, and we've got plenty of those episodes out there as well. I'm telling you guys, I have got stuff for Source Material and Unspoken Issues. I'm legitimately putting stuff in November right now. That is how much stuff we've got in the can. So that means that there's going to be plenty of content. Mostly, a lot of it is source material, but Unspoken Issues, there's I think we have another.
I know we have several in the bank already.
I was going to say we have, actually this coming Monday, tomorrow, is another Dean and Derry Daredevil discussion that we had with about Carl Kessel and his run on Daredevil. And then, yeah, we got a few things after that. But this one right here should be airing, I think, right as, what is it, Thursday? It'll probably hit theaters, right? Is it usually Thursday when stuff? Okay, so I'll probably air it then. But yeah, check that out if you guys get a chance. And then Evan already mentioned Snap material, so check that out if you like Marvel Snap. So we're getting out of here. That over there is Chris Armstrong. Over there is Evan Bevins. I'm Jesse Starcher. We're getting out of here. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
R.I.P. Manny Botham.
Thanks for joining us. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.